Alrighty, here we go there. So we are ready here. It is Saturday. It is October 1st. We're on the eve of our 1 o'clock game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So obviously, as you can tell by the thumbnail, which is the same as the picture above, I put Sunday Emotional Roller Coaster. Reason that is because tomorrow we will be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars for the first time. Well, actually, we'll be playing Doug Pederson for the first time since he left right there. Doug Pederson, the coach who coached the Philadelphia Eagles during their very first Super Bowl win. He will be coach going against the Philadelphia Eagles. So for that right there, it's a bit of an emotional thing for Eagles fans. The coach that helped bring us our first Super Bowl win in franchise history will now be on the other team. Now, I'm expecting that when Doug Pederson comes out, he will be well received by the fans at the link. At least some of us, even with some of the fans that initially hated Doug during the 2020 season. You know how it is. Because, some fans are, they can be fickle. They can be 1 minute, they can be real fickle. The next minute, they can be supportive of someone. So I'm thinking some of the fans will give Doug Pederson a warm ovation when he comes out tomorrow for the matchup between the Eagles and the Jaguars. But yeah, so we're going into this game, obviously 3-0. Jaguars come this 2-1. They're off 2 impressive wins back-to-back, defeating the Indianapolis Colts week 2 decisively and the Los Angeles Chargers decisively last week, 38-10. Also, let's get right into it. So, start with some notable news right here. We did have the injury reports came out late yesterday. Boston Scott, due to his rib injury he suffered Sunday, he will not be playing tomorrow. Who will be playing is Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon, who was drafted by the 49ers last year. He played for them for a little bit right there. He had a somewhat productive rookie season with them, but he didn't make their 53-man roster, and we claimed him on September 1st, exactly 1 month ago. And we got Avonte Maddox. He's going to be out with an ankle injury, but he was the guy expected to go up against Christiankirk, which I'll get to that in key matchups portion of this preview. So without Avonte Maddox, behind him on the depth chart is Joshua Scott. It is possible, though, they could go with Chauncey CJ Gardner-Johnson right there. So we could be seeing what's going on right there. So they could be possibly doing that, though. We'll have to see. And I think, honestly, our first test of the season will be how we handle injuries right here. Because it's our first time we've really dealt with a couple of serious injuries going into this game. So, obviously, we'll have to see how the Eagles handle that one right there. Now, as far as the Jaguars go, some people are thinking that if there was a game we could lose that we're favored to win, this could be the game right here. And I certainly see why some people are saying that. Now, I still got confidence this Eagles team can beat the Jaguars tomorrow and just still remain the only undefeated team in the NFL. And while we're still on that subject, prayers up for Tua Tagovailoa with that injury he suffered. Honestly, the Miami Dolphins should not have put him out there for that game Thursday night. They should not have. It was a ridiculous loophole that allowed him to play right there. Everyone on the Dolphins medical staff should be fired. And I think they should be punished for it as an organization because this is complete negligence right here. Because if the NFL really believes in this player's safety, they say they do, they should punish the Dolphins. I know that's off subject with the Eagles and Jaguars, but I just wanted to put that out while it's still on my mind. But getting back to it. Honestly, I do have confidence, as I was saying, the Eagles can remain the only undefeated team. However, if there was a matchup we were favored to win that we could lose, it could be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I even know some people, even a coworker of mine said yesterday that, hey, Doug Pederson might know what the Eagles are going to do before the Eagles do. And that is a possibility, especially with Doug Pederson having been on the Eagles sideline from 2016 through 2020. So there is because, he had all that experience with the Eagles being their head coach. He knows the system, right? That there's certainly a possibility he could have a game plan laid in place that the Jaguars could figure us out and beat us on. It is possible. So I do keep that in mind. And if we were to lose, which again, I hope we don't, I still have confidence we can win. I would not even really be that upset because I could understand, okay, we were going a tough situation against our former head coach who knew how to scout us. I'd also give credit to the Jaguars. I'll come up here in my post-game recap if that does indeed happen. Now, I still don't tend for that to happen. I still think we can win this game. I still feel like we got the better overall roster. Got Jalenhurts versus Trevor Lawrence. I still feel like Jalenhurts is a better passer than Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Lawrence has gotten better. He's got better weapons around him, better system. But I still feel like Jalenhurts is the better quarterback of the two. Obviously, wide receiver-wise, you talk about Christiankirk. And apparently Zay Jones, he is questionable for the Jaguars for tomorrow. Last I heard, so he might not even play, might not play. But even if he does, you got Christiankirk and Zay Jones, then Evan Ingram versus AJ Brown, devontasmith, Dallas Goedert. Out of those three, I feel definitely our guys are better than them. Right there, I feel like our secondary is better than them, especially with Darius Slay Jr., James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I feel like certainly. So I feel like we got better overall roster. I mean, even our defensive line. Look, our defensive line's been bringing the heat the past couple weeks. We've been doing good. I feel like we got the better all-around defense, too. You look at linebackers, TJ Edwards, Hassan Reddick, Kazir White. And then you got on our line, of course, you got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and those guys. I certainly feel like they're better than the Jaguars. Although, to be fair, though, the Jaguars do have some guys, though, that are some good run stoppers and get some pressure. You got Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick from this year, and Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen. Not as good as notable as Josh Allen, the QB, but the other Josh Allen, he's been helping out with the Jaguars, especially the past 2 weeks. You look at some of those games, Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen have done a good job stopping the run and get some pressure on the QBs these past couple games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I'll get to that more in key matchups. So, to be fair, the Jaguars do have some players on their roster. Even with the running game, they got James Robinson right there. He's doing good this season. He's having a nice bounce back year thus far. Travis Etienne, he's a solid secondary option. But I still feel like our running game, though, that might be the one matchup they might be better at us than. When I look at the roster, they might have a better run game than us. So that might be one thing I'm concerned with right there. But overall, I feel like the Eagles are the better team here than the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you're just tuning into this live stream, please feel free to do me a favor. Drop a like if you haven't done so already. Help out with the algorithm. If you're just joining in, leave a comment in the live chat right there. Say hello. Let me know what you think this game. Give me your takes, final score predictions, anything related to the Eagles Jaguars. You're more than welcome to post in the live chat. And there is that poll, obviously. Who do you think is going to win this game? You got the Philadelphia Eagles, Jacksonville Jaguars, or the rare scenario of a tie, which I personally don't see happening. But I always throw that option in my predictions, polls, because you never know sometimes in the NFL. Even though it's rare, you never know. So I just do it to be realistic. But yeah, obviously there's a lot on the line. Obviously, this is going to be a big game for us. We're going to see Doug Pederson. Obviously the Eagles fans were thankful for Doug Pederson helping us win that Super Bowl, but we still want to win at the end of the day. And even though, look, with the Jaguars go, I'm happy to see that Doug Pederson has made the most of his second chance as a head coach thus far, and he's helping the Jaguars turn things around. And knowing the division they play in, the AFC South, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, who have regressed, Indianapolis Colts, and the Houston Texans, who are in deep rebuild mode, who might be lucky if they win just four games or more this season. I personally, I could definitely see the Jaguars winning that division right there, especially considering that the quality of that division. They have a good shot at winning it, definitely. So I would be happy for Doug Pederson if that happens. However, when it comes to tomorrow, when it comes to playing the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm always going to root for my team to win no matter what. I'm always going to be rooting for the Eagles to come through and beat whoever, no matter how much respect I have for another player or coach on the opposite side of the field. I'm always going to root for the Eagles regardless. So I'll still be rooting for the Eagles. Still wish Doug Pederson best of luck with the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, I'm obviously going to be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's as simple as that. And as far as this game goes, look right here. Obviously, we have one of the better. Now it's getting more. We have one of the better defenses right there in the league right now through the first couple weeks, and people start realizing after last week, holy smokes, this Eagles defense is for real. Long shot from where they've been the past couple years. And that's absolutely true right there. You saw last week, we got 9 sacks on Carson Wentz. Let me see how we've been doing this year. We've been doing it on defense. So far, we have 12 sacks this season. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, although to be fair, they have 7 sacks too. So give them credit. They have been playing better defensively. Now, granted, that's mainly against the Indianapolis Colts and the depleted Los Angeles Chargers team. So, yes, I get that. That is true. So, there's that part of me saying, okay, obviously the Jaguars are better than they were last year, but however, against who? How are they going to do when they fare against the Philadelphia Eagles? We're going to see how the Jaguars do tomorrow when they got to come to the link and play the Eagles. So, yes, but I do feel, hey, the Jaguars do have 7 sacks. They've been one of the better run-stopping teams. So, I definitely got to give the Jaguars some props for that right there. So, I do feel it's at least fair to point that out and give them props for that. However, they haven't gone against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles yet, so we got to keep that in mind as well. Yeah. So, now I'm going to move on to the key matchups for this game right here. So I'm going to start with the main key matchup is going to be the secondary versus Christian Kirk. Now, originally, it was Avonte Maddox and Christian Kirk, but Avonte Maddox will not be playing due to that ankle injury. So it's either going to be Joshua Scott going against Christian Kirk, or they could use Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in that spot right there. Possibly. Now, I think personally, I would like to see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson go against Christian Kirk right there and have him get on him. I know he's been 82% used in the slot for Christian Kirk right now, and he has the most targets of the Jaguars receiving core this season. So he's Trevor Lawrence's go-to weapon. So he's going to be the main focus. Now, I don't know how a Joshua Scott will do against Christian Kirk. I don't know, but I feel like personally, if you get some pressure to Trevor Lawrence, which the D-line has done well the past couple weeks, week 2 against Cousins, week 3 against the false Lord and Savior Carson Wentz. So I feel like we can do the same here against Trevor Lawrence, where we won't really have to worry. If we get pressure on Lawrence, we won't really have to worry about whether or not Joshua Scott can cover Christian Kirk. But heaven forbid, maybe if they do start off with Joshua Scott, if they do decide to go that route, it's not working out a little bit early on, Scott's not ready for Christian Kirk or something like that were to happen, though, then maybe they could go with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But at this point, I feel like Gardner-Johnson's the best option to cover Christian Kirk. And that's how I feel personally. You guys can let me know if you're listening to this in the live chat, how you feel about that, if you agree or disagree with me on that one. But I feel like that's going to be one of the key matchups right there to see if we can shut down Christian Kirk. And another one is actually going to be with the offensive line. With Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, they're two, obviously, those guys, Jason Kelce, they're top guys in the offensive line. We've done really good so far with the offensive line. But here we're going to have an interesting matchup. As I alluded to earlier, you got Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen are two of the main key pieces in the run stopping and getting some pressure on the QB for the Jaguars. So their first 3 games, and that's going to be a key matchup right there, having our offensive line go against the Jaguars D-line, mainly Walker and Allen. Now, considering we are playing with one of the best offensive line, we got numerous former Pro Bowlers on that O-line. Look, I have confidence that this offensive line can get the job done right there. I got a feeling they can help and go against these guys. Now, remember, the Jaguars are one of the better run-stopping teams thus far. But again, we're talking about this. Look at their schedule thus far. You're talking about the Washington Commanders, almost call them the football team. But point is, week going against that team who does not have a good run game at all. And then you're talking week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts, week 3 against the battered Los Angeles Chargers team. I mean, obviously, they are one of the better run defenses so far, but against What opposition? Exactly. I just told you what opposition. So, yeah, so just because they look like one of the better run stop teams on paper doesn't mean they're as great as advertised, if you get what I'm saying. Now, we'll see tomorrow what they're really made of when they got to go. We'll see what you guys are really made of on the run stopping there when you got to go against that offensive line. You got Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. How you going to do that? Now, I got confidence, though, that this O-line is going to get the job done. But the point is, though, that's going to be one of the key matchups right there. Now, if Walker and Allen can make some, can get through that O-line, that's going to be some trouble for our offense. But I got confidence in our O-line that they're going to pull through right there. And another one right here is obviously, this is an important one right here. Our defensive line going against the Jaguars' run game with James Robinson and Travis Etienne. Now, remember, week 1, we struggled stopping the run, mainly against DeAndre Swift for the Detroit Lions in week 1. And that played a role in the outcome being as close as it was, 38-35 final score. And to be fair, so far through 3 weeks, the Detroit Lions have one of the better offenses in the NFC. So I understand that, hey, Detroit Lions are a pretty good offense so far, and it ends up being a close game. I get that. But now here's the thing. Now, last 2 weeks, we didn't do much to give up the run. But to be fair, we're going against the Vikings with Dalvin Cook, who's underperforming so far this year. And then last week against the Washington Commanders, who are not a good run team at all. But how's this team going to do this? How's this D-line going to do stopping the run going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have one of the better run games so far through the first month of the season? So that's going to be an important matchup right there. We got to go out there and actually do something to stop that run right there. Okay, I mean, you don't get the benefit of playing Washington Commanders every single week with one of the worst run teams. So that's going to be an important matchup for us right there. And obviously it's important that we need to do something to stop that run, because if the Jaguars can get a good run game going, that can open up holes in the passing game for Lawrence to cook a little bit, get the ball to Christiankirk, Evan Ingram, and if Zay Jones does end up playing, possibly him as well. So I emphasize that as an important matchup, because if the Jaguars get a good run game going, that can affect the final outcome and can affect the efficiency ratio of the Jaguars offense. So, and vice versa, the efficiency of this Eagles defense to stop them. So I feel like it's important that we got to stop the run. And speaking of stopping the run, remember after week 1, I did a response video to Mitch Kovsky, the head of his channel, head of Hardcore Sports Network, who, just for the record, I'll be doing an appearance on MK Headlines on this upcoming Tuesday. So I'll be on that right there. But remember, I made a response video to his video about giving Jordan Davis more snaps after week 1. And the reason I bring that up, though, is to get to, now Jordan Davis is a run stopper. We know it's one of his main strengths. That was his strength coming into the draft. I feel like we definitely need to give him as many snaps as possible going against a better run team. Now, yes, the past couple weeks, we didn't really need to worry about that as much. However, we weren't going against teams that were as good running the ball. So how are we going to do this time around going against Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a better run team? I feel like it's important to get Jordan Davis more involved here. Yeah, I understand we didn't really need him as much the past couple, games. But however, this time we're talking a different story here. We're going against one of the better run defense teams in the end. So I feel, definitely common sense, get Jordan Davis in. So, you want him to be a run stopper, put him in there, see what he can do. So I feel like that's something we can do differently, because, yes, even though we haven't really needed him as much the past couple weeks, where we are this week, we're going against, we're going against a different situation. We're going against a tougher run team, which is going to require our main run stopper here. Now, do I understand Jordan Davis getting more snaps itself isn't going to mean it's going to automatically work, but if he's supposed to be this big run stopper, we should be putting him in there. Simple as that. So I feel like that's something we got to do right there. So I feel like those are the main key matchups right there, which are, again, our secondary versus Christian Kirk, our offensive line versus Trayvon Walker, and also on top of that, our running game against Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, really the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line. And then obviously our D-line going against the Jaguars run game. Those are the main matchups right there I'm looking at right there. Now, moving on to the last part of this, I'm going to talk about the keys to victory. So our keys to victory here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think one of the keys is going to be, sounds a bit unorthodox, but try to be a bit unpredictable. I feel like in this case for the Eagles, we're going to have to do things a little differently than we're used to offensively to try to catch Doug Pederson by surprise. Because with Doug Pederson being the former Eagles coach, he knows a little bit about this Eagles offense, and he knows a little bit about to prepare for the Eagles, being they spent all that time, coaching our very team. So I feel like if we change it up a little bit, throw a few plays that we don't normally run out there, try to come in with a strategy that maybe is a little bit different, a little less predictable, that could maybe catch the Jaguars by surprise. Maybe try to have Hurts stay in the pocket a little bit more here. Have him run a little bit less, catch him by surprise a little bit. I feel like it's a good idea to try to do things differently. Hey, Philly halftime. Well, right now, things are going pretty good right now. I'm just doing my live stream. Right now, I'm going through my keys to victory right now for this Eagles Jaguars. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, there is the poll right there you can vote on. Let me know who you got in this game. And as I was saying, right, so I think if we get a little bit unpredictable, it might help catch the Jaguars by surprise, because Doug Pederson obviously knows us well. He knows this offense, and he was there Jalen Hurts' rookie season. And some of the guys, that he coached are still there. So even with the changes we've made, there's still some room for predictability, and there's room for Pederson to scout us well. So I feel like if we change up the game plan just a little bit for this game right here, now I'm hoping that's what they did in practice so they can actually get adjusted to doing things a little bit out of their comfort zone. I hope they practiced on that so by game time, they're ready to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's a key right there. Another key to victory is obviously play disciplined football. Don't give up stupid penalties. Obviously, because, we saw it in the first couple games, penalties were a problem right there. Especially they called back. We lost a couple first downs in the first couple games due to penalties. We got pushed back because of it. So we obviously got to play disciplined football and keep the penalties to a minimum in this game and keep the careless mistakes to an absolute minimum. Now, obviously, it's football. Sometimes things are going to happen. Penalties occur. I get that. But we got to keep them to a minimum in this game. Keep the false starts, an eligible man downfield, the 12 men on the field, the stupid stuff like that. Just keep that to an absolute minimum. Something we definitely got to do. And as Philly halftime said, he thinks the Jaguars are going to win, which I understand. Even though I got the Eagles, I completely understand where you're coming from right there. Right, and as he said in the comment, I think the Jaguars win 28-24. Eagles always lose the game they're supposed to win, which is true, as all teams do, but continuing. And he also said, Doug Pederson's mad because he got fired from the Eagles. I get what you're saying right there. I understand where you're coming from, because Pederson probably coming in here looking to get revenge against the Eagles, and he wants to prove that they made a mistake, which is absolutely something. Absolutely, he's going to do that. Any coach who feels a certain way about getting fired when their new team's going against their former team, they definitely want to prove something against that former team and try to show them up by going out there embarrassing them. So definitely Pederson's going to have the Jaguars motivated to win. So I see where you're coming from right there. And it is a possibility, certainly, that it could happen. Obviously, it'll be another 24 hours before we actually see what is going to happen, but that certainly can happen. I still have confidence the Eagles will win, but I certainly understand where you're coming from. And I honestly would not be surprised if that's the one pick I get wrong in the season. So, yes, as I was saying, too, about obviously playing disciplined football, stay away from the stupid penalties because they could be costly, especially if this does end up being a tightly contested contest, as a lot of people, such as Philly halftime, insist. Right. So we definitely got to do that better. Another key to victory, being able, I just emphasized on this a few minutes ago, but stopping the run, obviously. I feel like this is one of the important ones right here. If we can shut down James Robinson, if we can keep him to minimum affection, if we can at least stop or contain him, that can definitely help play a difference right there. Because we already know the defensive line can get pressure on the QB. I have no doubts that we can get pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I definitely feel like, hey, we're going to bring the heat on Trevor Lawrence for sure. So I feel like if we can stop the run, that minimizes the Jaguars' main strength right there going into this matchup offensively. So, yeah, but that's going to be, we'll have to see how this defense does because this is their second real test against the run game right here. We saw week 1 against the Lions. They struggled there, and the Lions almost beat us because of it. Because once they started doing good on the run game, that opened up holes in the passing game late in the fourth quarter for Jared Goff to nearly bring them back to victory. So obviously week 2 and 3, we did better against the run, but now we're going against James Robinson in the Jacksonville Jaguars run game. How are we going to do there? Obviously that's going to be a key test right there, and it's going to be an important factor because if we can stop the run, that takes away the Jaguars' main strength and force them to pass more. If they have to pass more, that creates more opportunities for us to get pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think you guys get what I'm saying right here. So obviously it is an important key to victory that we do shut down that run. So that's another key to victory. Obvious key to victory, obviously. Jalen Hurts has to be able to be efficient passing the ball too. But so those are my main keys to victory right here. So, obviously I laid it out right there. We will have to see what happens here. And let's see. So we got another comment, Philly halftime. We need to do better on punt returns and kick returns. We have to get the ball field. We are not getting, this is ridiculous. I get what you're saying, right? Because we haven't really, because I think back on our first 3 games, I'm like, I haven't seen anything on kick and punt returns that has impressed me yet. I haven't seen anything impressive from this team yet. So I get what you're saying. It would definitely be nice to see this team finally, do something on kick and punt returns that sets us up in good field position and do something impressive because I have not seen that yet this season. So that would definitely help out too as well. And it is a factor in the game too. So facts on that one. So, however, right, so, I laid out my main keys to victory right here, what I think are the main keys to victory. I went through what I feel are the main matchups right here. And now we just got it's 12:59 p.m. It just hit 1 o'clock. So we pretty much got another 24 hours before we see what actually happens, what actually goes down. Final score right here. Obviously, I'm thinking this is going to be a close game right here. I'm thinking it's possible. It could be something like 31-28, 31-27, something along those lines. I think it could be a close, like high 20s, low 30s final score tally for both teams right there. I do think the Eagles are the better overall team, so I think they can win. I did pick them in my picks. I kind of cautiously picked them in my picks or took a gamble on them because I feel like out of all the picks I made, that's kind of the one pick even though I picked the Eagles to win, I'm still a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong about that one. I would not be surprised if I'm wrong. So kind of like the one pick I made with the least confidence in it actually being true. So I do think the Eagles can win, but I honestly would not be surprised if the Jaguars do win. So that's the way I see it right there. I do think it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the final minutes. And I do think the Eagles can win, but obviously won't be surprised the Jaguars do. So I'll leave it at that. So to everyone that tuned into the live stream, thank you for tuning in. If you're still here and you haven't done so, drop a like. Help out with the algorithm. Subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell. And even if you didn't catch it live, if you're watching this after it's been recorded, you can leave a comment in the comment section on YouTube. Let me know who you think is going to win and what you feel about this. If you agree or disagree with anything I said. And I'll leave, and that's all I got to say. So thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe right here. I know we got some windy weather and some rainy weather here in the Northeast. So wherever you're at right there, I hope you stay safe. Have a safe Saturday. Fly, Eagles, fly. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do a live stream due to my schedule. But however, I will be back for a recap video sometime Monday. So be on the lookout for that. Fly, Eagles, fly. We'll see what happens. Nicky Stees signing off. And I'll be back with another vid soon.